Today, we're gonna work on the 914 Type 4 VW engine. What is fuel injection?
All right, we got it up off the ground. I had a couple guys help me lift up the rear while I slid that stand under there. Yeah, it looks pretty sturdy. I'm gonna put a couple more stands under it and we'll change the oil. See how nasty that oil is. All right, guys, I spent some time and got the engine lifted up higher so I can get under it and change the oil. I also hooked up the electrical system so that we can start the engine outside of the car. Look at that lizard. I created a ground here. This is normally where the ground would go. I just cleaned off a spot on the transmission and it's getting a good ground here. But normally the ground attaches here and then there was a little ground wire that went up to the body in the rear to ground the electrical system. And it's just going to another pair of vice grips right there on that bracket, and I'm just grounding right there, and it seems to be working. I've got the electrical system hooked up for the fuel injectors, the alternator and all that stuff, so everything's hooked up like it would have been in the car, outside the car now. So the only thing that's not hooked up is the fuel system. We're gonna run new fuel to it anyway because the gas tank is nasty. Here's the brain or the computer control module, and this is like the main fuse panel. So it's all hooked up. If you turn the key, it'll turn over. So it turns over. I'm gonna pull those tires out and we'll get up under there and drain the oil. All right, guys, let's get under here and drain this oil. As far as I know, this oil hasn't been changed since 1994 or before, possibly. That's when it was last registered, so it's coming out. All right, we're gonna get this strainer off of here. A little bit more coming out of there. There it goes. Oh man, fell right in there. Shoot. Man, that's clean. Wow. All right, let's see if we can get this cover out of here. Oh. There is a little sludge on the cover, I think. And that's normal for an old engine like this. You can see it. Yeah, oh yeah, there it is. There's the sludge. And you can kind of see some metal shavings in there. Oh, I can feel the metal. Ooh, there's some chunks of something in here. All right, I'm gonna see if I can get that filter off of there. It's in a pretty tight spot right there. There we go. It's turning now. It was on there pretty tight. Oof. Look at the top of it, it's nasty. There's all kinds of junk in there. Okay, the oil filter's out. I just took this plate off. This is where the oil temperature sensor goes, and that's the sensor right there. There's two 10mm bolts, electrical plugs in there. It goes up to the oil temperature gauge, which is pretty cool. This plate comes out of here. A couple of 10mm bolts holding it there. There's a gasket. So all the oil's out. We got the sensor plate off, filter plate, oil filter. So we'll clean all this stuff. This is a pump that was in my 1972 but it was just sitting loose in the back of the car when I got it. They had another pump installed. I connected the negative and positive to my battery over here with a couple of alligator clips, and it clicked. It would go dink, dink, but it wouldn't stay on. It wouldn't pump. And I just kept messing with it, and I put some WD-40 down in there on both sides and just kind of kept messing with it, kept putting power to it, and eventually it started pumping again. So it's pretty cool because now we can have fuel pumping to the engine as if it were in the car. So when you turn the key, it'll work like it's supposed to. I heard the relay click and all that. And what's funny is if you look at this board, you can see how corroded those fuses were, or these are. Apparently this is the fuel pump fuse, and it wasn't connected completely. It had gotten knocked out of the way. So I just moved it over and it started pumping. So now we've got everything hooked up as if it were in the car. When we go to start it, it should act like it would act as if it were in the car. All right, let's get those plug wires off and get the vacuum up in there, see if we can suck some of these nests out of here. See it up in there above the spark plug? It's all up in here, it's packed in there. You can see it down here too. It's like insulation, cotton, anything they could get, a string and rope, leaves, anything they could get their hands on to make a little nest. Horsehair, it's in there. And it's packed in there tight. Let's see how much of that we can get out of there, and then we'll suck with the vacuum and we'll blow with the air hose and blow it all out. Wow, look at that. It is thick. Look how thick it is. So we're just gonna pull as much as we can out. I got the fan blowing behind me to send the dust outside. There we go. That's working. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna hit it with the air hose. I grabbed the other fan, that way I've got maximum airflow blowing everything that way. All right, we got a lot of that out of there. I kept blowing it for probably another 10 minutes or so, just going in each spark plug hole, that hole there, here, here, every little hole I could find, all through the fan, because the fan actually pulls air in through here and sends it through the whole motor. Blows it through here, here, all through the tin. That's how the engine stays cool. It's air cooled, not water cooled. So if the air passages are clogged with nest and dirt, grease, oil, it's not going to cool properly. So also, if these flaps right here get stuck in the closed position, it'll overheat. And I did notice that it looks like they're in the open position, but I think it defaults to open so it doesn't overheat. But I have heard of them getting stuck. The thermostat underneath will close when it's cold and expand when it's hot. And when it's cold, it closes the flap. So when you first start the engine, it gets warm faster, warms up the engine, and then the thermostat expands and releases this to the open position. But this thermostat is not, the wire's missing, but I did notice the thermostat is under here. It's hiding up in here. It's hard to see it, but it is in there. It's in there, but the wire's missing and the wheel is broken, so, which is fine as long as it's in the open position. They warm up pretty quick, so unless you're up in a cold climate. But here in Florida, we don't really need the thermostat because it's pretty much warm here all the time, except for last week. We did have a freeze, And this whole shop was full of plants. They brought a ton of plants in here, the ones that can't handle the freeze. And I'll see if I have some footage of that. Oh my God. Wow. So much for the nice organized shop. But we had just reorganized the shop, and like 2 days later, the guys had to move everything out and they filled it up with the plants, but it's all cleared out now. But let's see if we can get this thing running outside the car and running a little bit better. Let's pull the plugs, see what they look like. 21 millimeter, that wasn't too bad. Okay, there we go. I've got some replacement plugs for them. So we'll go ahead and replace the plugs. We'll put some fresh oil, new oil filter, and ooh, this one's tight. I guess I didn't get this one off. Oh man, real tight. Wow. I hope this one comes out. Oh man, that one's in there. Oof. Sometimes if you tighten it just a little bit and then not really tighten it, but just kind of rock it back and forth. Dude. That one's in there, boy. This one's in there, guys. I got a breaker bar to get a little more leverage on it. I don't want to pull too hard because I don't want it to break in there. Man, it's in there. Yeah, I'm afraid that one's gonna break. That one's in there, boys. All right, well, we're gonna leave that one for now. That one came out easy. They don't look too bad. Not sure how long these have been in there, but they've been in there at least 30 years probably. I'm gonna spray some WD-40 on the other one. Let it soak for a little while. Maybe that WD-40 will get in there and seep its way in there maybe. Especially if we get it running, the heat might pull the WD-40 into the threads a little bit, maybe. Okay, she's gonna smoke a little bit when we start her up probably. All right, I'm gonna crank it over just a couple times. It's not gonna start. Just wanna crank it over and get some of that WD-40 down in the cylinders. Just moving it around, trying to lube everything up a little bit. All right. Now, let's go ahead and clean the oil strainer and the cap and everything. Put the bottom end back on and fill it with some fresh oil. Okay, cool. We got the oil strainer, oil temperature plate and covers clean. I'm going to take out the oil pressure relief valve. There's a little piston in there and a spring. I just want to make sure they're not seized. All right, I got it loose. It's coming out. It's coming out. It's a little tricky. Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, that's it. That little piston and the spring. Oil pressure relief valve. Just want to make sure that sucker's not stuck in there. Clean it up and put it back in. Okay, here's all the bits that we've taken off the bottom of the case to get the oil out and to check the piston. This is what it looks like after I cleaned it. Just clean up a little bit with the scuff pad. Make it shine a little bit. Be good to go. Put some oil in it and put it back in there. Should be good. Feels nice and smooth. me get all this stuff back on and we'll fill her up with some fresh oil. Put on a new oil filter. And just for the initial start, I'm just using some cheap, it's not cheap, but I had this laying around. I don't want to use the expensive oil that is the correct oil, just to mess around with it. If it ends up running like really amazing, then I'll drain it real quick and put the good stuff in there. But this is the correct filter. It's a nice filter. And we're gonna fill this up with oil. Trust me, this oil's better than what was in there. Way better. So we'll fill this up and then we'll put a little bit of oil on the lip here. It's amazing how much oil that thing holds. Holds quite a bit. Okay. Let's get it on there. Just get it hand tight, you know, nice and snug. Okay, should be good. All right, we've got all this tight down here. Everything is on. You know, we might get a little leak from something just because these seals are old. The gaskets that go on the drain plug and everything. But everything is on. The piston relief valve is back in. Just double checking, make sure I got everything on. And we do, which is pretty exciting, because that means we can fill it up with oil. That's what it means. Some fresh oil in there. I don't want to get too excited because I have a feeling that it still might run like crap, but I'm having fun messing around with it. This is not the correct oil. This is the correct oil, or some version of it. High zinc. This whole jug was $15. These are $8 a piece. So for the initial startup and cleanse, we'll use this. And it needs about 4 quarts. It's looking pretty good. Fresh oil for the first time, 30-something years probably. Here's the new plug. It's a WR7DC. And this is a W7DC, so it's just a newer version, but the threads look the same. Same depth, same length. They're both Bosch. We just gotta take these tips off here so they'll fit on the plugs. But yeah, that should help a little bit. All right, I'm gonna turn it over a couple times just to blow some of that WD-40 out of the holes that we sprayed in there earlier. I think I got most of it out. All right, we got some of that juice out of there. Let's get this thing. We'll get the 3 new plugs in anyway. Hopefully. I'll take these tips off. Just get it snug. All right, guys, we've got fresh oil, new oil filter, everything's been cleaned, and all the electrical's hooked up, and the fuel pump is hooked up. We just gotta get the fuel line over here, and we're just using this temporary line here to run it over to the engine. And we're actually gonna take this off here and tap in right here and eliminate all this stuff. All right, so fuel pump's over here. Just kind of rigged up temporarily, but this is the wiring that goes to it. And normally it sits down here. I just have it up here so we can get easier access to it. And I'm gonna put a tank in here, nice clean fuel. It's gonna pull it up through here and send it over to the engine. Let's get that line hooked up. Those lines are a little dirty on the inside, so we'll see what happens. I'm just gonna put it on without a clamp and see if it works all right without a clamp. This is the return fuel line, so if everything's working properly, fuel should start shooting out of here too. So if it does, we'll clean this up and run this over here into like a tank. All right, guys, it's pretty exciting. We've got the fuel pump hooked up here temporarily, fuel tank. We've got the terminals, negative and positive, new fuel line, temporary fuel line running over here, new oil, new plugs. Everything's blown out as best we can. We should probably plug these back in, that might help. All right, guys, ready for takeoff. Let's see what happens. See if there we go. All right. Oh yeah, it's coming out somewhere. All right, guys, let me know if you can see where it's coming out. I can't see from over here. Oh. Coming out of there, that line I was just talking about. Oh, it went all over the car. Shoot. Stand by. All right, we got some leakage here. Where is it coming out over here? Is it coming through here? I guess it is. The return line's working. All right, so we need to put that. And then it was squirting out of here. This hose right here. All right, I'm gonna try to replace this fuel line. It's hard as a rock, but see if I can find something about this size. All right, I found some line over. I had some 5/16. It looks about the same size. So we'll go ahead and try that. Whew. I guess it's a fairly high pressure system, and whatever fuel doesn't get used, it returns it back to the tank and just keeps pushing it through, and the injectors just take what they need, I guess. I'm not really sure. Some of these other lines are probably going to start leaking because they're dry rotted. We got that. Let's see. We need a return fuel line here. I wish we could take it all the way back to the tank. That would be cool. But I don't think I have a line long enough to go back there. So let me see if I can find a bucket or something to stick that in. All right, guys, I got a return fuel line here. Replace that fuel line there. I think everything's tight. Let's try it again and see what happens.
bunch of fuel. Ah. Remember to turn the key off.
I have no idea how this thing was even running before, because it's got all kinds of fuel leaks. This fuel line right here, I mean, maybe it's developed since we pulled it out of the car, but I don't know. This is gushing out right here. So I'm gonna replace this little line here, and then we'll see what happens. All right, these are pretty rusty, these clamps. Let me see if we can get them off here. Wow, those are bad, real bad. Wow, I can't even get them off. Can't even get them off. I'm starting to think this isn't gonna run, but I don't understand how we had it running in the car. There wasn't leaking in the car. This is putting a lot of pressure on the injectors here too. The seals for the injectors are probably worn out. It's weird because this side's super rusty and this side's not bad at all. And the hose is not bad. So it's just weird how certain areas of the car get more rust or corrosion. All right, I'm gonna try to cut this off real carefully here. I do have a fire extinguisher real close, guys. So, not sure I'm gonna get that one. That is, man, that one's in there. That one is in there, boy. If I could cut that bolt right there without cutting all these wires. Yeah, I think that worked. You know what's gonna happen is the seals for the injectors are gonna be dry rotted. It's just gonna be a chain reaction. You fix one thing and something else breaks loose. All right, I got another piece of 5/16 here. It seems to fit pretty good. I'm sure there's probably a German equivalent. And I got some fresh clamps here. Hopefully this will hold. But I think it's just gonna, some other line's gonna pop. You know what I'm saying? The pressure's just gonna keep building and it's gonna pop somewhere else. But I guess we'll find out here in a second. All right, let me know what you see.
Might be a little scary. I guess I need a clamp on the,
It just literally got my whole rear.
man, there's some pressure on that thing.
Dang. All right, I'm gonna put a clamp on this hose here.
Hopefully it'll hold.
All right, let's try it again.
Woo, got another leak. Got another leak. But it did start. You see that? Oh yeah. We gotta fix all these leaks, guys.
All right, it started. It started, and the return line started to push. Look at that dirty fuel it's pushing through the system. So that's good, we'll get that clear. That system is seriously pressurized, wow. All right guys, I'm gonna take some time. You already saw me do the other one. I'm gonna go ahead and spend some time and get as many of these replaced as I can.
Probably not the best place to stand. Oh, dude. Computer fell. Dude. Woo. All right, let's try it again. Put a tire underneath it so it doesn't fall. It sounded a little healthier that time, didn't it? Where's that loose wire?
Let's try it again. Starts right up. It's trying to do something, isn't it? Look at all that fuel coming from the return line.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's got some vacuum leaks. All right, cool. That's pretty exciting. It is running. I know there's a vacuum hose here that's off, so I'm gonna go ahead and connect that. I'm not sure if that's gonna help or not, but we'll try it. See if that helps. Oh, and this thing came loose. Let's see if that helps at all. I'm gonna have to figure out the return line. It's dumping into here right now, which is good because it's flushing dirt out of the system. But at some point I'm gonna want to reuse that fuel, you know what I'm saying? But right now I'm just flushing out the junk. But I'll probably have to get another hose that's long like that one to go back to the tank, and it'll just keep recycling it as it goes through the line. Definitely sounds like a big vacuum leak, and I'm seeing another fuel leak already. We're gonna have to fix that. Woo! It's alive. All right, we got another leak over here. Let's go ahead and fix that. All right, let's try it again. I got that other hose fixed. Let's see what springs the leak next. Huh. Might be running out of fuel. Oh yeah. All right, we got more fuel in it. Filled up the fuel tank. Let's try it again. Oh, look at that. Woo. Holy moly. He's running. Woo! All right, let's mess around with it one more time. And then tomorrow I'm gonna get more hose so we can return the fuel back to the tank. I don't see any more leaks. I think we fixed all the leaks. Maybe there might be some vacuum leaks that we need to work on. Starting to sound a little better. Tomorrow we'll mess with the timing. We'll get the fuel line going back to the tank. We'll, I forgot to gap the spark plugs, so we'll gap the spark plugs. And I don't know, we'll just keep messing with it. Maybe we'll get it running better. Woo! This is supposed to have an air filter on it. That whole air thing is probably messing with it a little bit. Woo! running out of fuel. Alright, let's turn it off, let it rest. All right. All right, cool. Tomorrow we'll try to get it a little more dialed in. All right, guys. I went and got some more 5/16 fuel line. Also picked up some more vinyl for the temporary line. This is going to be for the return fuel line. So we've got the send. Comes into here. It goes through the first two injectors, crosses over, hits the other two injectors, goes up to this thing, not sure what that is, and goes through here. It's like a regulator of some type. And this is the return line. We were just dumping it into this bucket yesterday. You can see all the junk that came out of the system. So now I think it's clear. What we're gonna do is dump this into the Tennessee moonshine bucket. That's the fuel that came out of the tank that was in this car. So they should get along just fine. What we'll do is I'll empty this out, and then we'll run it a little bit and just flush the line because it's been sitting. There might be a little bit in there. We'll flush it one more time, and then we'll hook up the return line to the clean tank. So at that point, it should be a closed circuit, and the fuel should circulate back and forth. That's pretty exciting. And then I'm gonna replace this vacuum hose here. This is 5/16 as far as I can tell. It looks like this will fit. So we'll get that. Hopefully that vacuum will help a little bit. Also, after I've had it running for a little bit, I wanna get it warmed up and then drain the oil. And that's why I got this bucket here, so that we can see if there's any metal or anything in the oil, in the fresh oil. And that's why I used the cheap oil to start with, just to kind of flush it out, and we'll see if there's anything in there. I'm gonna go ahead and put this fuel in here because it stinks, and that way it doesn't keep stinking in the shop. All right, let's get that line, that old return line, off of there. I like how they have a bread tie on here for their clamp. That's awesome. Bread tie. Yeah, that'll work good. We're gonna run this clear line, and for the first few seconds, I'm gonna run it into that bucket and just see if there's any more junk coming out of it. And then we'll stick it into the fresh tank, the clean tank. We're gonna put a clamp on it, because this is a high pressure system. It seems like, anyway. So yesterday we replaced this line, and this little line here. This is still an original one here, so that one might burst, and there's another original on the other side, and this is still original. So we still have the opportunity here to have a couple more leaks, but we'll see what happens. All right, so we're gonna run this back. This is the return fuel line. We're gonna run this back to the gas tank that we have, the temporary gas tank we have sitting in here. And it'll go in here. But first, I'm gonna cut it about right there. I wanna give myself enough room to clear the exhaust and everything. And then we'll run it temporarily for just about 30 seconds in here, just to see if any more junk comes out before we stick it in the tank. All right, let's do it. Return line here. Hook up the battery real quick, and then we'll turn over the key. See what happens. All right, guys, watch that fuel line. See what happens. Hear the pump come on. All right, let's try it.
Yeah, a little bit came out, not too bad.
So I just wanted to do one more check, and a little bit came out. So we should have a pretty clear line now. This can go into the tank here. I'm gonna put a zip tie right here so it doesn't come out. And we should be good to run the system as if it were in the car. It had the fuel systems hooked up to return and flow. It's pretty cool. All right, I'm gonna put a zip tie on there real quick, and then we'll start it again.
All right, let's try it.
There it is. All right, it's flowing. Look at that return line. Wow. It goes through there quick, doesn't it? Pretty wild. Not seeing any other leaks yet. It does sound like it has a knock or something, doesn't it? Got a little bit of a knock. Oh, let's replace this. Doesn't seem to be doing anything.
Pretty bad knock.
I didn't notice that knock yesterday, but that is the knock that was knocking when we had it running in the car. So it's interesting. Maybe I was just so excited yesterday I didn't notice it, but boy, she is slapping around in there. It sounds like it's pretty cool to watch that fuel flowing through there, but it definitely sounds like the engine's worn out. That's strange. I don't remember it knocking yesterday. But like I said, maybe I was too excited and didn't notice it, or maybe a knock can be intermittent. I'm not sure. But let's try it again. Oh, we got another leak. We got a leak. We got a leak. Where is it coming from? I think it's coming from here.
All right, let's try it. Maybe the knock will go away. That'd be awesome. Try it again. Says we're getting 12 volts.
All right, guys, she's knocking pretty bad. Let's leave it at that. She's got a pretty bad knock. It's just weird it wasn't doing that yesterday. It's just strange that it came back up. But maybe you guys know about that. Comment below. All right, well, I guess we need to dive into it. Take it all apart, see what it looks like on the inside. So stay tuned for the next episode, guys. We'll take it all apart and see what it looks like on the inside. It's gonna need a rebuild. I mean, hopefully the crank's still good. Maybe the rods are still good. They just need new bearings, and we'll check it out. We'll see what's going on. Most likely it needs a rebuild, and we can do that with the help of my buddy Darren and AA and a couple other people. We can make it happen. So maybe we'll even get some advice from all right, guys, she's knocking pretty bad. I think we're gonna let her rest now and take it all apart, see what it looks like on the inside. So stay tuned for the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I had a lot of fun, and it's really cool to just see how the system works outside of the car, because you really just can't see it in that car. It's just buried in there. So for me, this was a lot of fun. I already knew the engine was gonna need to be rebuilt because it was knocking when we did the first start. But it is interesting. It seems like the knock is coming and going for some reason, and not quite sure why, but we'll keep digging into it.
Let's go ahead and drain the oil, and we'll see if there's any metal or anything in it.
We should be able to see it pretty clearly because the oil's new.
they come out. Ooh, she got dirty pretty quick. Good thing I didn't use the good oil, huh? She's dirty in there, boys. Dirty. I'm not seeing any chunks come out. Well, we'll check the filter here in a minute. And we'll recycle this oil.
Yeah, I mean, that oil was clear when I put it in yesterday. So, it definitely was doing some cleaning, but it's probably still dirty in there. I think the engine's just worn out. The bearings are worn out. The cam's probably worn out. Hopefully the crankshaft's still good. That would be good. All right, if you remember earlier, I tried to get the spark plug out and it wouldn't come out. I felt like it was just too tight and I didn't want to risk breaking it. So, you know, I hit it real hard with WD-40. We ran it a few times. And I think that heat may have sucked some of that WD-40 in there, but also just heating up and getting cold, heating up and getting cold probably helped it a little bit, but it's still really tight. So I've been just rocking it back and forth. I went, you know, tried to tighten it just a hair, and then try to loosen it a hair, and try to tighten it a hair, and try to loosen it a hair, and then spray some more WD-40 in there. And the engine's still hot. You can see the steam coming off from the WD-40. And it's starting to loosen up, so I can feel it now. And I've been working on it for a few minutes actually. So it's starting to loosen up pretty good now. It's still tight. It doesn't feel right. Feels like maybe they could have cross-threaded it. It's pretty tight compared to the rest of them, but it's coming out now, and I'm just trying to rock it out. I think we've got it, but also, you know, the threads are starting to come out, so you can hit it, and then I don't know who told me this or where I saw it, but probably VW Darren. Just kind of rock it back and forth, and that's allowing some of that lubrication to get down in there and help it come out. And now it's starting to move pretty good. There we go. It's been in there a while. There we go. All right. We're not going to tear it down in this video. We'll do a complete tear down maybe in the next video, but I wanted to get that out. Ooh, it's still pretty hot. It's cooking. Made in Germany. These are probably original. I don't know. They may have had a tune-up at some point, but there they are. Cool. Hopefully the heads are good. If the heads are good, that would be freaking awesome. All right, guys. See you on the next one. Hope none of those spiders are still in there. It's alive.